A pirate in Thames
That's Jeff with a
Rocket.
G.
Jeff with a G.
Oh, I'm here now.
Bye.
No.
You walk on the left, please, did you not know? Thames Rocket is boarding point number 1. Numero uno.
Numero uno. Christian Horner?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
A Google Drive.
What do you mean a Google Drive? Or do you mean his photo? Do you mean his text messages and photos that were leaked?
Yeah.
Is that what she sent you? Yeah.
I don't really know why though. I don't really know what to do now. You were joining your own line, weren't you? You weren't listening to us here, Rose. It was Jack.
So what do you think then when we get off?
How do we do this?
So, it goes on a bit like a waistcoat or a backpack, one arm in one hole, one arm in the other. And if you look at me here, you want to be able to see like your two lapels like this, either side, okay? That's it. First thing to do once they're on is the clasp at the front. You've got two rectangular pieces of metal. On the left hand side there, it's got a bit of a gap in the middle of it. Take your right piece, angle it and just pop it through that left gap like that. So the right one goes through the left one. That's it. Okay, next thing is the tail, which is behind you. You're going to bring that through your legs from the back and to the left. There's a little one. There you go, like that. That's it.
Very large around my middle. I need some assistant.
Okay. Final thing to do, and this will be a lot easier if you help each other out. Can you turn around for me? So you're going to partner up, and on your partner, you're going to locate these two sort of thicker straps here at the back, like this. And if you pull them at the same time, that will tighten up the sides, alright? So help each other out.
Hey, here we go. Oh. That's only really tough. Is that alright? There we go. We're all looking glamorous now.
I'd like to take the whole front row there.
Thank you.
Step straight onto the deck there, avoid that rubber tubing. That's it, perfect. Lovely.
Oh, look at this.
Oh,
First class.
tight bum space. I think my bum's got bigger since we last done this.
Oh, I think it's ready now.
Do you want to sit at the edge or
Right. Welcome everybody. Speedboat ride on the Thames. Are we excited?
Yes.
You're very determined. Yes. I've been waiting all bloody year for this. I'm so ready. Well, fantastic. Welcome. My name is James. I will be your crew / guide for this evening's voyage. And this right here is the wonderful Quinny, who is our skipper. It is in charge of how fast we go and how many of us make it back alive. So we're going to be extra nice to him. Quick one, no one has any back or heart conditions that they are aware of?
Not yet.
Yeah, give
We're
it half an hour. If you do, that's fine. We just need you to fill out a quick bit of paperwork. If that's all good, then that's all good. And no one is at any stage of pregnancy. This one is very important. Good. You're saving your surprise announcements for later. Jolly good. We can't be held liable for anything now. Wonderful. So, in the unlikely event that you do end up in the river, it's not happened since we started working in 18 years ago, so please don't be the first. If you do go in the river, these will automatically inflate on contact with water. Then and only then should you pull the red toggle if it does not inflate. Otherwise, just leave the red toggle alone. Leave the red toggle alone! Because if you are in the boat and your red toggle gets pulled and your life jacket inflates, you'll look ridiculous, quite frankly. It's not worth it, so don't worry about it. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a nice little pootle through central London. You'll see there's a speed limit in the river, or well, on the river mostly. Maybe you can't really go too fast under the water. It's hard. Very true. Can you tell I've been at this all day? The words just turning to soup before your very eyes. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a lovely little guided tour through central London. I'm going to show you some of my favourite things. There's a bit of plastic, don't worry about that. That's the Thames, it's a true authentic London experience. And then, when we get to Wapping, which is just past Tower Bridge, when we get to there, that's when the speed limit lifts, and that's where we can start to have a bit of fun, and where you'll get some funky new hairstyles and things. And then, we're going to take you all the way out to Greenwich, going really fast. We're going to stop at Greenwich, because it's lovely. I'm going to tell you a couple of quick things about Greenwich, and then we're going to go really fast again, all the way out to the Thames Barrier. And I'm going to tell you a couple of fun things about the Thames Barrier as well, because it's pretty cool. And then we'll turn around, we'll whiz back. Whiz back, we'll just have a nice little chill and chat, and then pop some music on and just relax. And you guys can get ready for the lovely Easter holiday, Good Friday, bank holiday. Yes, it's delightful. But with that in mind then, should we start here at the Palace of Westminster, otherwise known as the Houses of Parliament? Obviously you know about Elizabeth Tower and Big Ben and so forth. Elizabeth Tower, only actually the second largest clock face on the river. There is actually a bigger one, believe it or not, that belongs to the Shell building, which we're going to pass just up there. And that clock face on the Shell building is half an inch bigger than the one on Elizabeth Tower. So that's no coincidence, is it? Right, let's just, there you go. So, gotta go for it anyway. Now here on the House of Parliament, you've got these terraces here, the green and red ones. I could talk to you all about the gunpowder plot, but we know all about that. We know Guy Fawkes. So let's look at these terraces. Green and red. Do you know what these terraces, like awning things are? They are bars, believe it or not. Hospitality suites, if you will. Any ideas why one might be green and why one might be red? It is the Lords and the Commons who are right, 10 points, yes, for that very reason. So if you've ever seen the House of Commons on the telly, you'll see the benches are green. If you've ever seen the House of Lords on telly, a bit less frequently, you'll see that they're red, exactly. And it is for that reason, Lambeth Bridge, Westminster Bridge, different colours, red and green. So there's actually a bit of an archaic rule that was if you were a member of the Lords, you were not allowed to take the same route into work as a member of the Commons, because the Lords was there to provide oversight to the Commons, and they didn't want people having sort of secret meetings away from the parliamentary estate. It's a nice idea. I don't know how successful it was, but they, you know, it's the thought that counts, really, isn't it? Now then, can anybody tell me how many boroughs there are in the Greater London area? It's basically, this tour is like half trivia, half pub quiz, essentially. So I'm going to be asking you questions as well. Yeah, how many boroughs in the Greater London area? I'll give you the points if you're 5 either side. 22. Did you say 30? 32. 32 is exactly the right answer. Very well done. Not even needing the 5 boroughs either side. Grace just got it on the nose. Lovely. It is indeed 32 boroughs in the Greater London area, and it is for that reason that the London Eye has 32 pods. each one of the pods on the eye represents, well, you're counting them now, aren't you, in your head? You don't believe me. I once asked that question, and someone sort of saw where I was going with it before I actually did it. So I said, how many boroughs are there in the Greater London area? And this guy just started going. So yeah, it was a bit telegraphed. But yeah, so each one of those pods represents one of the boroughs of London. Believe it or not, the Eye was actually only meant to be open for 6 weeks, and then they opened it. They saw how much people liked it, they saw how much money it was making, and they just went, we would be absolutely mad to close this, we need to keep this open. And so they did. It is the second most profitable tourist attraction in Europe, actually. Anyone, any ideas what the most profitable one might be? I'll give you a clue, it's in France. Disney is the right answer, yeah. Of all the great meats in the French cultural stew, the mouse is the thing that really, you know, actually gets it for them, so fair enough. On your left-hand side here, this building with the green roof on top, that's the Ministry of Defence. So that's the headquarters of the Army and the Navy and the Royal Air Force and all that kind of thing. Now, any ideas why this building might be known as the Iceberg? Because it goes
more of it underneath.
Exactly, there is more of it underneath, just like an iceberg. So it goes way, way, way down below the surface of the Earth there. And it's got several floors of underground nuclear bunker. So in the event that it all gets a little bit tasty, that's where the people in charge are going to go to, you know, see out the next steps. And there is also in there, believe it or not, a wine cellar that dates back to the time of Henry VIII, which is pretty cool. If you were going to see out nuclear winter, do it with a nice Pinot Noir in your hand. Why not? Why not? The Ladies Bridge. Now, if I tell you it was built during the 1940s, any idea why it might be called the Ladies Bridge? Because it was them what built it. So the men were away fighting in the war in large part, so the women who had stayed behind were the ones that built that bridge, and it is in fact the only bridge on the entire river that was built on time and under budget. We don't believe in coincidences here, do we? No, we do not. The Octo company bought that warehouse. You weren't allowed to have any skyline advertising on the South Bank. So to get around that, they had some windows installed that sort of maybe kind of say the name of the company. And that meant that when the River Thames people went to them and said, pardon me, what are you doing? Why, you know, you're not allowed to have your logo up there on your tower, they were able to then say, we don't have our logo on the tower, it's just a pattern in the windows. In fact, that's why we liked it so much. And you know what? They let them keep it. They bloody well got away with it, so good on them. Just goes to show, be cheeky. Now, the Millennium Bridge is one of its names. It has two others. The Wobbly Bridge is right. Ironically, as I nearly trip over going over there. The Wobbly Bridge is one, absolutely. And there's also the Harry Potter Bridge. You might have heard of that. Yeah. So known as the Wobbly Bridge because when it first opened, it was so unstable, they actually had to close it because people were getting seasick walking across it. And they call it the Harry Potter Bridge because I believe in the 6th Harry Potter film, it gets destroyed in the opening sequence. So if you're ever a Londoner and you're watching that Harry Potter film, people always get very excited by that. Now then, on your right hand side, lovely slice of history here. Shakespeare's Globe. Not the original, of course, because that's been demolished and burned down several times over. This is one of the series of replicas, and it was built in 1999. Now, they've had a few fires at the Globe over the years. My favourite fire came when they let off a real-life actual cannon in the middle of a performance. Wooden theatre with a thatched roof and a cannon in the middle of it. We can see where we're going there, can't we? So up it went, bless them. And just coming into view as well here on your right hand side, the Shard, tallest building in Western Europe. This, currently France are building a skyscraper that's going to be about 8 meters taller, so we'll need to just stack a few things on top of ours. But a little tip, if you are ever planning on going up to the viewing platform at the Shard, don't bother, because you can go up to the bars or the restaurants, which are only a few floors below, and for the price that it would cost you to go and stand on the viewing platform, you can buy a nice bottle of wine instead. So definitely do that. Loads better, and you get a bottle of wine out of it. Now, give me a cheer if you like going to the pub. Yay. Excellent, correct answer. This pub is called The Anchor. It is the oldest pub on the river. It is in fact twice as old as the United States of America. That is how seriously we take beer in this country. And as you can see, of a spring evening, it's a bloody lovely spot. It really is. Charles Dickens actually wrote about it. Samuel Pepys wrote some of his diaries of the Great Fire of London in 1666 in that very boozer there. And Shakespeare himself is even said to have visited it once or twice. On the right, yeah, good, isn't it? It's really nice, really lovely. It even says London Bridge because I don't think anyone will believe it otherwise. It's like, no, honest, I am, really. But look, this is actually the third London Bridge. We know what happened to the first one, London Bridge is falling down, blah, blah, blah. But the second one still exists. In fact, you can still cross it to this day, and you're nodding like you know where it is.
I've been there.
Have you? Where is it?
Lake Havasu.
Lake Havasu. Not even naming the state, naming the actual city in Arizona where London Bridge is. Yes, sorry everybody. You got the GoPro out, you need a bit of...
Yeah, exactly.
I believe in photography they call it specular highlights. No, yeah, it's called Lake Havasu City in Arizona, where in America, I mean, do you know the name of the guy that bought it? Because that would be like 1,000 points.
I can't remember.
But yeah, Lake Havasu City in Arizona. The guy's name was Robert McCulloch. He was an American businessman, and he bought London Bridge, had it shipped over brick for brick, and sent to Lake Havasu in Arizona. So he thought it would be a good tourism boost for his town, and he was right, because people go to Arizona to see the Grand Canyon and to walk across London Bridge. So good on him, good on him. A recent example, this was a flagship in the Korean War. It was also involved in the D-Day landings at Normandy. And the guns here are so powerful that they actually once destroyed all of the toilets on board the ship because the recoil was so huge. So they fired the guns. The guns have got a range of about 25 kilometers. They fired and all the toilets were made out of porcelain. So the recoil just shattered them all straight away. Imagine being sat on the loo and then just suddenly the whole thing just disintegrates behind you. So now if you go and spend a penny on there, you'll see all the loos are made out of metal. Smart, much better, loads better. Now on your left hand side here, the Tower of London, of course. Now we know this is the home of the crown jewels and so on and so forth. There was also once a zoo called the Royal Menagerie where they kept a drunk elephant. They did not know how to look after this elephant, so they fed it a gallon of wine a day to help it keep warm. It didn't work, it died. It was also the site of the most recent execution that we have officially carried out here in Britain. It was during World War II. There was a German spy by the name of Joseph Jacobs who was found. They thought this guy's a bit fishy, so they searched him, and in his backpack, bear in mind he's trying to blend in his backpack he had bratwurst, German sausages. Now if you're trying to go undercover in Britain during the war for the Germans, don't have bratwurst on you, that's part of it, isn't it? So yeah, it didn't really go too well for him there, so they took him to the tower, and there you go. And here, Tower Bridge. Now this is the one that lots of people think is London Bridge, but it's not. It's Tower Bridge, it's its own thing, it's a bridge in its own right. But this central section here, they're called bascules, and these bascules can actually open up. They rise to let tall ships pass underneath. Now, if you were on the number 78 bus one December day in 1952, you'd have been witness to quite an amazing thing. Did you the bus? Do you know about the bus?
I saw it on Facebook earlier this week.
Really? There we are. Facebook remains a fountain of knowledge, doesn't it? Yes. Do you remember the name of the man who was driving the bus?
No, I just remember seeing the picture of the bus flying over the top.
Yeah. So that genuinely, we're not making this up, but we haven't rehearsed this beforehand. It's genuinely what happened. There was a man by the name of Albert Gunter who was driving the number 78 double-decker bus, a route that is still in operation today, and he basically realised he was on a rising bascule because the watchman had forgotten to ring the bell. And he knew that if he slammed on the brakes, his bus full of passengers would tip into the river. If he put it in reverse, he can't do that because there's a whole queue of traffic behind him. The only thing he could safely do was put his foot down. And he did, and he made a 6-foot gap across Tower Bridge in a double-decker bus. His obituary in the Times was really something. It really was. And so now, obviously they're a bit more careful with it these days, but the bus company, in recognition of his courage and his bravery, gave him an extra day of holiday and a £10 bonus, which in today's money is about 260 quid. But Albert did, good on him, he did split it 50-50 with his wife, so fair enough. And poor old Albert broke his leg, but all the passengers were absolutely fine. So that is the story of the day of us. Of its kind that was ever built. We were doing 30 knots just then. That thing with the wind in its sails could do 18. So you felt how fast we were going there. Bear in mind that hasn't got any kind of propulsion on it at all. Can do about two-thirds the speed of our one, which is really something. Excuse me, I've got a bit of river water in my throat. We're back. And we're also here on the steps of the Royal and Naval College. Now, we notice anything about the architecture going on here?
St
Paul's, yes, ringing bells, yeah, those domes. Sir Christopher Wren certainly had a style, didn't he? And you see here though, these steps leading up to the waterside here. Now, this was actually used to be a hospital, a naval hospital. So basically, if you had wounded sailors, they would sail in from the battles and they would pull up there, they would drop their wounded sailors off and they would turn the ship around and head back straight back out to battle there. And speaking of which, in honour of our naval history, you've got the Trafalgar Tavern there. It's a lovely pub. If you ever get the chance to go in there, she's like, yeah, it's very nice. Very nice in the Trafalgar Tavern. Yeah, if you ever get the chance, well worth a visit in there. Obviously named in honour of Lord Nelson, the exploits at Trafalgar. And this is Greenwich Power Station. It's an old coal power station, not operational at the moment, but it's not like Battersea Power Station. They haven't converted it to anything else. It could, if needed, still do some coal, power generation. It's not currently hooked up to the national grid, but if they did want to take it out of mothballs, they certainly could. So there you have it. And that, my friends, is Greenwich. As you peer off to North Greenwich there, the O2. Has anyone ever done up at the O2? Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? It's cool. So yeah, right then. Shall we go and have a look at the Thames Barrier? Because that is quite quite fun. Right. Allons-y. the Thames Barrier. Seems a shame to come all this way and not at least kind of talk you through a little bit of it. Although I can see that some of you are currently fighting for your life. This sort of Dickensian orphan. We'll be quick, I promise. But it is, it's pretty cool, isn't it? It basically is the reason that large parts of London are not underwater. So in 1920, there was a particularly bad flood where some bits of London were so badly submerged. Putney, for example, in 1920 was under 4 feet of water. So something like this was absolutely essential. And they can use these spans here by lowering or raising as many of them as they need to regulate the flow of the river, essentially dictate how much of the actual River Thames is in London. So as the tide goes out, you either raise or lower the spans to just make sure that you're happy and the City of London is safe, basically. So it was built in 1982. In today's money, it was about 535 million quid it cost at the time. In today's money, that's just north of £2 billion. So it's an unbelievably expensive piece of infrastructure. But I suppose when you weigh that against how much money would be lost by flood damage and things like that, it starts to look like a pretty small sum. It's the second largest flood defence of its kind in the world. Anyone want to guess whether the biggest one might be? It's in a country that's kind of renowned for its waterways. It is in the Netherlands.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, those Dutch love a flood defence. They really do. And it's actually controlled by that sort of tower there that you can see that has a thing on it that sort of looks like the Starbucks logo. That's the control tower, so that's where they look all of that. Now, as you can see, it's pretty sturdy. It looks like it could withstand a lot, doesn't it? Because if you were a particularly enterprising terrorist, shall we say, you know, you could target something like this and really cause a bit of a headache. So they knew they had to make it nice and sturdy. So that was put to the test in 1997 when a dredger called the Sand Kite crashed into it. 2,000 tons of ship crashes into this barrier. The ship sank and a ladder broke off the barrier. So ultimately, yeah, barrier 1, ship 0 on that occasion. So they did rather well. But it's, believe it or not, the design of it was actually meant to, you know, the hob, like the knobs on your cooker. That was what inspired these spans here. That's what they were supposed to look like. So yeah, there's a very particular brand of cooker. If you've ever owned one, you'll recognise them immediately, just straight away. Just imagine turning them and pressing them on. Yeah. And from one end all the way to the other end there, if you were to stack it on its side, it is actually wider than the Shard is tall. So we saw how tall the Shard was earlier on. Stack that all up and it is as tall, or taller in fact, than the Shard. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing piece of kit. We're actually passing over the barrier itself right now. So it sits underwater and they rotate these big wheels to regulate it. So you can see on the span that we passed through a moment ago, next to it, one of the barriers was raised, so it sort of circles around like that. So right now we are above the Thames Barrier itself. So yeah, pretty jazzy, pretty cool. Right, shall we pop back? Because it's a bit chillier out here, isn't it? It's amazing. Once you've got a bit less in the way of buildings around you, the wind really kind of kicks in. So we'll dash back. Righto.